So today is another day of CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, and this year it is a total and complete disaster. You've got to see some of the clips coming out of this conference. It is more than ridiculous. But before we dive into that, please make sure you subscribe and give me a like. It really helps the channel out a lot. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, CPAC, a complete disaster. It was a disaster actually before it even started because Donald Trump announced that for the first time in a decade, he would not be attending. Now, this is rare for Trump because, as we all know, he loves the limelight, he loves the attention, he loves to give long, rambling speeches that everyone falls asleep to in a matter of 5 minutes. So it is actually relatively surprising that he decided to not attend CPAC. Now, you might be saying, well, maybe it's because of the Iran war and he has to deal with all the Epstein files and everything going on in his personal life, including falling asleep at all of his cabinet meetings. But it really, I think, is a sign of the waning influence and power of CPAC and what we saw the last couple days of this conference. It is just totally bananas. And first and foremost, though, no one is there. The attendees have dramatically decreased. Take a look at this clip from an MS Now reporter explaining the lack of attendees at this year's CPAC. Here it is.
Well, let me show you around. There's a lot of sparkles and bedazzles. You'll see a lot of red, white, and blue here at CPAC. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of empty space. I would have expected more people to be here, but everything that I hear, it's a lot of it because President Trump is not expected to be here. Chris.
And beyond the lack of attendees at CPAC, it has just been a complete and utter failure. Matt Schlapp, the founder of CPAC, who has been running this clown show for a number of years now, who has also a number of sexual abuse allegations against him, although I guess that's par for the course for the Republican Party at this point, decided to try to rally the troops today. He wanted to really rail against Democrats and rail against what he thinks or what he thought was going to be a big, massive win for him. Take a look at this clip of Matt Schlapp today, and you can immediately see it all go wrong.
How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No. That was the wrong answer. Let me try it again. How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No. Can someone bring some coffee out for the
Yeah, no,
I know. We've got to keep this House majority. How many of you agree with that?
Yeah, so Schlapp says there, who wants impeachment? And the entire crowd goes berserk. They all want Trump to be impeached. And Schlapp is like, no, that is not what I wanted you to say. Just a really revealing clip there from CPAC today. Matt Schlapp and the attendees there totally blindsided by this. The fact that people there want to impeach Trump. Well, why do they want to impeach Trump? We learned as well through interviews that took place throughout CPAC that attendees are not happy with Donald Trump. Conservatives are losing it with Trump and his war in Iran, his cover-up of the Epstein files, and everything else going on. Take a look at what one attendee had to say about Donald Trump, and specifically the Iran war.
This isn't, what I voted for. What I voted for was domestic policy, change at home, and, realistic foreign policy. So I'm just hoping we can get it all wrapped up soon.
I think they would get destroyed in the midterms. I get the vibe. A lot of people I knew who just voted for Trump because they thought it was cool in high school are just now just being like, I can't stand the guy.
Yeah, you heard it there. Republicans, conservatives, young and old and everywhere in between are not happy with Donald Trump. And Trump loves to talk about how he has 100% support with MAGA. Well, yeah, obviously people who are diehard MAGA Trump supporters are going to support him until the ends of the earth. Remember, Trump said, actually quite accurately, that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and it wouldn't matter because people would still support him. But the people on the fringes, the people of the Republican Party who believe that Trump would be anti-war, they believe that Trump would uncover the Epstein files or fight corruption or fraud. Now, we know watching this that that is Obviously, the last thing that Trump was going to do, we knew that Trump was implicated in the Epstein files. We knew that he was the opposite of peace. But for these people that genuinely believed Trump when he said that he was going to do these things, it is coming as a massive surprise to them, and their support has waned tremendously. And not only has their support fallen significantly, but Donald Trump's support among independents and people who are just normal Americans living their life, who are now having to pay $5 a gallon for gas, who are seeing their grocery prices spike, who are not able to afford a home because of Donald Trump's policies. These are the people that are impacted by Donald Trump, and it's why his support is rapidly decreasing. But more importantly, though, the rhetoric coming out of CPAC shows a very dark and dangerous side of what is to come in the Republican Party. The things that we have heard the last couple of days at CPAC will probably not get national attention, but they should, because it points to a very violent and disturbing future for the Republican Party. To start us off here, here's one of the most popular Republican influencers on the right. This guy, Benny Johnson, has a massive, massive audience on here. Take a look at what he said about Republicans needing to have more babies. Here it is.
Said my number one priority is having children and starting a family. That is the culture war right there. That is the victory, ladies and gentlemen. Because the left, we're gonna just outbreed them. Can I get a witness? Can I get an amen? We're just gonna outbreed the left. You ever met a lib? They're hideous.
Yeah, that's really gross. First and foremost, describing having children as breeding, and we need to outbreed the left. That is really actually pretty gross. Benny Johnson, by the way, just a complete nut. Someone who, the Republican Party, though, this is the future. Benny Johnson represents the future of the Republican Party. That is their main message coming to the midterms. Hey, Americans, vote for Republicans because we're going to outbreed the left. Pretty disgusting. Even more disgusting, here is a pastor speaking at CPAC about books. You can imagine the tangent he goes on, but here it is in all of its disgusting glory.
Church, I'm talking to you. You can't be quiet about it. The moment they try to put gay books inside your public school, you should open up your mouth and say the devil is a liar. I won't let this pornographic show up in my school. Y'all not talking back to me. Where is the fire?
Yeah, I mean, but this is the message that Republicans are sending to voters come November about hating gay people, about saying that trans people are abominations, about saying that, well, we need to outbreed. These are gross messages that don't resonate with average Americans, let alone a lot of Republicans now, as I mentioned, who have turned against Trump in these days, and especially at CPAC. We have seen that fervent disagreement continue to rise among attendees. It's really been quite spectacular to watch in real time. And even more so, Republicans are just out of touch. Obviously, you saw that with the Benny Johnson clip. You saw that with the pastor clip. But here is a Republican official talking about abortion and the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Here it is.
That's right. I mean, look at what President Trump did in Trump 45. 3 Supreme Court justices and Roe v. Wade is overturned. Mm-hmm. That's a legacy.
That's a legacy.
That's a legacy. We see.
Yeah, just truly disgusting stuff. And ultimately, Americans will have to decide that this November, that they are fed up with the Republican Party. And every sign that we have seen thus far is pointing in that direction. That Americans will not only not vote for Republicans, they are enthusiastic about voting for Democrats. And they want Democrats, by the way, who show up and fight for them. They want Democrats who have actual policies and beliefs that will go to Congress and pass legislation that meaningfully impacts and changes people's lives. And that is what Democrats should do and are doing right now. But Republicans, I think, are kind of screwed this November. And if there's anything like the rhetoric that's coming out of CPAC, if that's the Republican message, honestly, if that is the Republican message, and it is, by the way, they can't change this at this point, then they will lose spectacularly this fall. Republicans, from Joe Rogan to the people that we saw there at CPAC, the attendees, are sick and tired of what is happening in Washington. And in fact, even former Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, yeah, the guy who Donald Trump almost made his attorney general, is fed up with the Trump administration. Here he is talking about the Iran war at CPAC.
Have every diplomatic tool at his disposal, and I do trust that he knows a great deal more than I do. But a ground invasion of Iran will make our country poorer and less safe. It will mean higher gas prices, higher food prices, and I'm not sure we would end up killing more terrorists than we would create. In Iran...
Yeah, Matt Gaetz just put it right out there. No, we do not want war. We do not want war with Iran. And everything that is happening right now in Donald Trump's administration is exactly what he promised he would not do. He said no new wars. He said, I'm going to uncover those Epstein files. And we have seen here that that has not been the reality. Those promises have not come to fruition. And you see here in this new generic poll ballot that Democrats are up by double digits over Republicans. Double digits because of the failed promises of Donald Trump and the belief that Democrats can actually get shit done. And we need to get shit done for the American people. We absolutely need to, because Republicans have failed and there is a vacuum that needs to be filled by Democrats who are willing to stand up. So this November, it is imperative that we all go out and vote. It is imperative that we put a check on this regime, and it's imperative that we vote for Democrats who are there to stand up for the American people. But that's all I've got for today. Please make sure you subscribe and like. It helps me out a lot. And until next time, thanks so much.